Hello everyone. We have a very interesting guest today, Jerry Friedman from Beaver Distillery up there in Petersham. So it's not a whiskey, it's not a tequila, it's not a rum, it's not a wine. It's Udevi or brandy. So Jerry, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And I guess it's just one product you have, right? But it's amazing. So tell us about it. What's happening here?
These are fruit brandies made from local and regional fruit. Most of the fruit comes from either Massachusetts or New York. And these are not flavored. These are just made completely from the fruit.
Yeah.
The fruit gets mashed up, it gets fermented, and then it gets distilled in a small 50-gallon copper still. And then it comes into the bottle. Some of it is aged, some of it is considered unaged, and they're usually used in cocktails, or you can drink them straight.
Yeah.
And they're just a wide variety from the different fruits that we have in this region.
Right. We have some brandies. Mostly they are made from I think grapes, wines.
Right.
We do have some udevis, not too much. Not too many. And frankly speaking, I don't know much about it. But before we even get into it, Jerry, tell us how you got into it. You must have been doing it for years, right?
Well, this is a project that's been going on for about 10 years.
Yeah.
I got into it when I was a young man in my 20s, traveling around Europe. When I was in France, and I stumbled into a distillery that was giving samples of a pear eau de vie, and I just said, wow, this is an amazing product, and I can't wait to explore it more. Of course, the exploration...
Pause it for a second.
Okay.
Like that. Okay, we're back. So David, welcome. You joined us. You're having something, but let's continue as to where you were.
So as I said before, I was in my 20s. I was traveling around Europe, and I tasted eau de vie fruit brandy for the first time, and I've been following that taste ever since. Of course, between my 20s and my 60s, there was a whole career that intervened. But finally, I had the time.
Related to chemistry, I'm sure, distilling and stuff. No,
it was related to law.
Okay, all right.
But finally, I have the time to pursue my passions, and so this is what I've been doing ever since.
Yeah. And that is how many years now?
So it's been about 10 years.
10 years, a decade.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Where is this being distilled?
So it's in a little town called Petersham, which is on the east bank of the Quabbin Reservoir. The Quabbin Reservoir is a huge reservoir that is in the middle of the state, and it's where Boston and Greater Boston gets its water supply.
Is that right? Yeah. It's getting all the way from there, right?
Yes.
So basically, it's dab right in the center of the state of Massachusetts.
Right in the center of the state. So Route 2 goes to the north, and the Pike goes to the south, and everything comes to an end right there.
Okay.
So it's an agricultural community.
Yeah. So, basically you have so many fruits. I didn't know that so many fruits existed in Northeast. Did you know that, David?
I saw quince. I have never had quince.
So you've got to try that. That's fascinating.
So quince used to be a very common fruit here in the Northeast. It was like it's very aromatic. If you have just a few quince in your kitchen, the whole kitchen will smell like quince. It's a beautiful aroma. But it's fallen out of favor, and it's very hard to find now. It's actually become kind of rare.
Okay.
So, but it's still a very aromatic fruit. It's in Europe. It's more common as a spirit.
Okay.
I think I'm the only one who's making it here in the States.
In the US. That's amazing. I'm going to get a little cup, and I did try it before, but I'm going to try it again. And David, you might want to try it because it's really uncommon. Hold that for you. Yeah. Would you want to try it?
Since you're pouring, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So you source quince from?
I sourced quince from a farm in Vermont.
Okay.
And I got it for a couple of years, and it was a very hard fruit to work with. And I was just finally figuring it out, I think. And I ordered the next batch of quince, and they said, "We're sorry, our quince trees got some sort of disease, and we had to pull them all out. So I don't know whether I'll be able to find quince again in the future. So until it's all gone, it's a pretty limited.
Yeah, we may be in
experience.
small company.
right. So, what do you think?
It smells. I've never smelled quince, so it's aromatic for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, very aromatic.
So when you're making a batch, you told us that it's a 50-gallon still.
Yes.
So let's say, take a fruit.
Well, let's just take plums,
Plums,
for example.
okay.
I've been working with this week. I get around 1,800 pounds to 2,000 pounds of plums to make a batch. It will probably only make about 6 gallons of
Wow.
spirits.
Out of 1,800 pounds.
Yes.
So what do you do? So you get this fruit, you bring it in, truck it in,
Yeah.
and then
I have a machine that will take the pits out.
Okay.
And it sort of looks like a smoothie afterwards.
Okay.
It mashes the fruit up,
Okay.
takes the pits out.
Yeah.
And that mash with the pulp and the skins of the plums gets put into vats where I add yeast and it ferments and then from there it's going to the still. Where-
so do you wash the fruit before you do all this?
depending on the fruit.
Okay.
So
Let's say plums.
yes, those are washed.
Yeah, but some fruits will not be washed.
Probably not.
Yeah. So they could have some naturally occurring yeast while
They
you're
could.
doing this. They could
Right.
get mixed up.
Yes.
And this is not a closed environment, so you could have the yeast that's in the distillery or Petersham area,
Right.
hiding around in your distillery. Could get in there.
Right. I do use commercial yeast,
Yeah.
like distillers yeast, either for wine or for distilled spirits.
Yeah.
But there's enough other yeast that's
Yeah.
around that could inoculate it as well.
Yeah.
So it's a mixture.
Makes it. It gives it more complexity, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Cool. Very good.
That is pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously there is a malt also, and I think many of our consumers will be very interested in because we are known for the whiskies, scotches, bourbons, and other whiskies that we carry. Did you try that, David?
It did. It's,
Yeah.
It's got So how does that get?
So
Yeah.
I work with a local brewer who has the equipment that I don't have to mash grains, and so this is 100% barley malt, two-row barley malt. I take the mash, the wash, and I distill it. I ferment it and distill it in the distillery, and then it, after it's distilled, I put it in new American oak barrels that are lightly charred, toasted and lightly charred. This is
Lightly charred, huh? Interesting.
Yeah.
I wanted to try to sort of get more of a cognac feel from the whiskey. So I didn't want to
That dark.
I didn't,
Pretty dark.
I didn't want to have too heavy a char in the barrel. So it's in small barrels. It ages fairly quickly. It's either 15 or 23 gallon barrels, and sometimes they get blended together from one batch. Just from one batch.
One batch. So how many gallons would that be?
So it's usually I wind up with around 45 to 50 gallons of whiskey per year.
Okay, per year.
Per year.
Okay.
I make the
So it's a
whiskey.
small company.
I make the whiskey in the winter because
Yeah.
there's no fruit.
So their distilleries here, they have like 13, 14 million liters per year of single malt.
Yeah.
And every single grain, you're talking about scale further up than that.
Right.
So you're making about 200 liters a year of this.
Probably.
Yeah. Very good, very good. Before we, kind of conclude, I really want to talk to you about this one. You have not tried that
I
yet.
have
Yeah?
not.
You should try that because this is such an interesting taste profile. And I don't know what I was expecting, something sweet and syrupy, but it's called
Nocino.
Nocino.
And it's an Italian spirit. There is a French derivative, but mostly it's associated with Italy, and it's made from walnuts that are harvested before they're ripe. So it's
Green walnuts?
Green walnuts before the shell forms inside the husk. I chop them up and put them in a big vat and I use apple spirits to macerate them.
So basically, it was France, Calvados regionally called Calvados.
Right.
Yeah.
But in Italy, I'm assuming they use grape spirit
Okay.
or neutral grain spirit.
Okay.
But I don't have access to those. But we have plenty of apples here in Massachusetts, so I have a lot of apple spirits.
Yeah.
So that's what I
Makes
macerate it
sense.
in.
Yeah.
It gets macerated with a few sweet spices, some cinnamon, some allspice, clove, and cardamom, and maybe some orange peel.
It's funny because it doesn't taste as syrupy as you think it would.
No, and it's not that sweet. It's almost
No.
like savory kind of notes I
Yeah,
get.
right.
It's like amazing.
It's almost like pie dough.
Yeah.
It's life.
So many of the nocinos that I've had are very viscous and very sweet, and I decided that I didn't like that.
Yeah.
So I'm making it the way I.
So it's a pretty low brick level, if you will, right?
Yes. And
Excellent.
it's lower proof too. So.
Yeah. The I was mentioning earlier, the labels the are so attractive. They're colorful. They pop out. It's really fun.
Yes.
And I'm so happy to meet someone who's following their dream, their passion, and I don't know what the market is for these things as far as we are concerned. But the stuff that I tasted is absolutely fabulous, and I want to, if that's okay with you, would love to have you come here and offer this opportunity for others to come taste these spirits. So hopefully,
I would look forward to that opportunity.
so stay tuned. We'll have Jerry here in one of these days and do a tasting, and maybe the mixologists out there can figure out how to make some interesting cocktails, because I, for one, don't know how to do it.
I'm not a cocktail maker.
All right. Thanks a lot. Cheers.